see what we got in terms of videos. I've done shadow play. I might just chill out with 30 seconds of stuff here and there and see where we go. Oh, Krampus. I was going to play something based on Krampus because we're talking about shadows, aren't we? This trailer for Krampus. See, I don't know anything about Krampus. I didn't until about four days ago when somebody wished me a Merry Christmas, and then somebody in the chat room here actually wished me a Merry Christmas, and I said I'm a Pepsi man. I don't really do the Santa Claus thing because that was Coca-Cola. I don't know whether he got the reference or not, but I said I'm a Pepsi man, and he said something about Krampus. So I looked it up, and it turns out it's a movie. See, this is how well I integrate myself into popular culture. I don't know anything about a movie that came out 5 years ago that's available and sitting on Netflix for me to watch at some point. But I've got this trailer, which is a couple of minutes long. Let me share my screen again while I remember. Okay, so this is the Krampus trailer. All right, so that's a bit of a visual movie trailer for the radio. But at one point, she says Krampus is the shadow of Saint Nicholas, which is why it's relevant for a show about the shadow. I am Street. There's a few people in the chat room. I'll go through the chat room while I remember as well. So we've got Dry Fly Guy, Dirt Engineer, ER185162. We've got Monster 383, Lady Horses in there, Captain Fred is in there, Pat Rabbit, the Kraken, Chris, Seri Sunflower's been in there, SJ, Stardust Man's in there as well, Maced 139, Rio and Flippy. They're on my first page of my visitor list screen. So I'll say hello to everybody who's in there. And if you want to come down and support the station, just come down and get in the chat room and have a chat with us. That's as good a way to do it as any. That won't cost you any money. The other ways you can do it are to become a patron. There's a button to become a monthly subscriber and make a monthly donation, or you can make a one-off donation, or you can just buy some stuff from the Zazzle store. Buy a hat or a cup or a T-shirt or whatever, and the station gets a share of that. We're all entirely listener supported. We're all run by volunteers. Nobody gets any money, so it's all a labour of love, really. There's a community here. There's been up to 66 people I saw in the chat room last week at one point. At the moment there's 31, so it's somewhere between 30 and 60, let's say, as an average. Usually around about 30. Sometimes it jumps up a little bit here and there, which is good. New people is always good in the chat room. And we'll welcome you in and we'll have a conversation with you, and we'll make you feel welcome. So if you want to support the station, you show us some love and we'll show you some love. And for anybody who's got an idea about a radio show, there are some slots on Studio B that are I think the evening for the States is covered mostly. There's a slot at 4 p.m. on Tuesdays. There's a slot in the afternoon on Saturdays. It's open now. And the morning's open for most days. So if you've got any ideas, talk to the management. They'll set you up with a slot, and you can just talk about what you want to talk about. Ultimately, it's a station where we like free speech. I like to talk in the way that I talk, and sometimes people don't like it and exclude me from conversations for whatever reason. But I still like to talk the way that I talk, and that's why I like it here, because nobody's ever going to stop me from doing that on this station. And I don't do anything particularly controversial. I'm mostly fairly psychological or philosophical stuff is what I talk about. Although it might turn into other things. It might turn into a little bit of politics here and there. I was making a list of people I would put up against the wall and shoot in my head. Um, so that's a new thing to talk about. I might make a list at some point in the new year, and we'll talk about each of those people individually and see what it is they've done to offend me to the point where I want to shoot them. But it's just a bit of fun, really. It's not. I'm not saying I'm actually going to kill anybody. We were having a conversation in a philosophy group last week, and we were on the what topic were we on? At some point, the topic came up of the working class. So the working class in Britain, it's basically the labouring class. It's people who work for a wage. Middle class would be people who either work for themselves, have businesses, or are professionals of some sort. And then you've got the aristocracy, which is the upper class. So I was talking to these folks in the philosophy group that I'm in, and one guy in there is a retired economic history lecturer, and he suggested that, in all seriousness, that the working class should be either killed or sterilised. And I'm like, what is going on here? What is going on? This is genocide talk. But he wasn't being serious particularly, but he had those types of conversations before, and it just came up as a thing, and it made me laugh, but it then made me start to think about who would I want to put up against the wall and shoot, who would I want to sterilise if I had a list, who would be on the list. And I think Boris Johnson would be on that list definitely, because he's just a waste of space. He's getting us into more trouble than we were in the beginning. But apart from that, individuals I'm not really sure about. I wouldn't kill the working class. I wouldn't wipe out the people who deliver food to supermarkets and work in supermarkets and keep the trains running on time, because all of those things are quite useful jobs as far as I'm concerned. The aristocracy mind, that's a slightly different thing. What does the aristocracy contribute to the way society functions? They might contribute the occasional um, thing in the house, and most of the time they're turning up and then disappearing and getting their 300 quid for expenses for being there. So, or they don't turn up at all. So the House of Lords I might put up against the wall and shoot. But I don't know. I'll have to make a proper list. I'll have to make a proper list. Let's see if we can find another video. This is all a bit random today, but we'll work it out as we go along. And it's all good. And share screen again. Should we do a bit of comedy? Let's have a bit of Benny Hill. People seem to like Benny Hill on this station. I think in the chat room at least it was mentioned. So let's have the Benny Hill theme for a couple of minutes. See if I can get away with this on YouTube. All right, and on we go. I'm in a strange mood today, so I'm just playing what I like, and it's all just a bit stream of consciousness. So this is the Two Ronnies, which is a British comedy show from the 70s. They do a lot of language-based comedy. It's Ronnie Corbett telling long, white, meandering stories from a chair. It's very much language-based comedy, so this might work for the radio. I won't get away with this on YouTube either, but I don't really care today. Oh, nothing's happening. Why is nothing happening? Try again.
Four candles.
Four candles. There you are. Four candles.
No, four candles.
Well, there you are. Four candles.
No, four candles. Handles for forks. Got any plugs?
Plugs?
Yeah.
What kind of plugs?
A rubber one, bathroom.
What size?
13 amp.
Electric plugs. Electric bathroom plugs, you call them. Trade. Electric bathroom. What?
Saw tips.
Saw tips. What do you want, ointment or something like that?
No, saw tips, but covering the saws. Tips.
No, we haven't got any.
Oh.
Coming in, but we haven't got
Got any hose?
hose.
Hose. No hose.
Hose. I thought you meant hose. Hose. Say hose.
No hose.
Hose? Well, oh, you mean pantyhose. Pantyhose.
No, hose. Hose for the gate. Mon repose. Hose. Letter hose.
Letter hose. How do you want?
Two.
Two. What?
any peas?
For God's sake, why didn't you bleeding tell me that I'm up the stairs already for that thing? Tell me bleeding there, I'm up and down the shop all the time. All the shop up and down the hill. You tell me when I'm planning things, I'm just saying what How many do you want?
No, tins of peas. 3 tins of peas.
You're having me on, aren't you? Having me on. There we are. Right.
Pumps.
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 Hand pumps, foot pumps. Come on.
Foot pumps.
Foot pumps. Foot pumps. See the foot pumps. Tidy up, can you? There we are.
No pumps for your feet. Brown pump size 9.
You are having me on. You are
No,
definitely
I'm
having me
not.
on.
No. Right. Washers.
What, windscreen washers, car washers, dishwashers, floor washers, back scrubbers, lavatory cleaners, floor washers.
Half-inch washers.
Oh, tap washers, tap washers.
Yeah.
Look, I've had about enough. Just give us that list. Take it all myself down here. What's this? What's that? Oh, that does it. That does have it. I've had just about enough of this. Mr. Jones, you come out and service customer, please. I've just about had enough of this. Look at Scott on there. Look at Scott.
Right. How many would you like? 1 or 2?
There you go, that's the 2 Ronnies. That's one of my favourite sketches. I've got Vernon Coleman, Dr. Vernon Coleman is a British doctor who's been posting material about coronavirus and the plot to kill everybody. The Bill Gates is a James Bond supervis villain theory, which I don't necessarily subscribe to, but I think he's worth keeping an eye on just in case. So I'm certainly not James Bond. I'm not going to tackle him personally, but if he does turn out to have a tank full of piranhas hidden away somewhere, I want to know about it. Anyway, Dr. Vernon Coleman's been posting on BitChute all year, and he does monologues. He does rants, and they're very similar to the way that Ronnie Corbett used to do his monologues on the 2 Ronnies. So I've got one of those lined up, and I'm just going to play that, I think, because they're all very kind of, they're tongue-in-cheek and serious at the same time, and he writes very, very well. Again, so the language is clever, it's well constructed, and that's what I like. So this is about 13 minutes long. If you haven't heard anything that Dr. Vernon Coleman's done before, then find him on BitChute. There's quite a few videos. He doesn't post regularly anymore. He posts every once a month maybe, or a couple of times a month. But he's interesting. This is Dr. Vernon Coleman.
There are people around who believe that if we all wear masks, obey the social distancing laws, and become true slaves to the system, then everything will be back to normal by Christmas at the very latest. In the last 24 hours, I've read and been dismayed by 3 articles by writers who believe that if we all behave properly, do exactly what we're told, The coronavirus will slink off and all will be well, with everyone back at work, the economy beginning to boom, and the world well on its way to recovery. There are even some who were shocked at the suggestion that taxes will rise dramatically in the next 12 months or so. Where do these people think the money came from? The money that ex-Goldman Sachs banker, the current UK Chancellor, was throwing around with such gay abandon. Of course, they add, as a rider, we won't be able to forget about social distancing and we may have to keep our masks on until the vaccine is ready, but everything will be normal apart from that. I wonder what these people have inside their skulls. Porridge? Those little white polystyrene balls that are used for packaging? Bubble wrap, perhaps? They certainly don't have any brains. The people now planning to rule the world, a group of billionaires and would-be billionaires, who I will, for ease, refer to as the enemy, have decided that there are too many people in the world and that the Earth would be more comfortable for them if the total were reduced to around 500 million. Since the current population is around 7 billion, that means that at least 6 billion of us are surplus to requirements, unnecessary and not wanted on a voyage. Since their ambition has a convincingly eugenic flavour, they will presumably want to get rid of the weak and the poor and the elderly and the frail. So how are they going to do that? Well, the ignorant, scaremongering climate change nutters have done some of their work for those, some of the work for those who want us dead. The brainwashed children and idiots who believe in man-made global warming are helping the enemy enormously. Cutting back on our use of oil and gas will kill hundreds of millions who'll die of hunger and cold. And I've no doubt that the enemy will manage another plandemic. The abominable Gates and his wife have already said that people will pay attention when the next pandemic arrives. And I thought they smirked very knowingly when Bill made this prediction. It wouldn't be difficult for them. They could just say that the coronavirus, which caused COVID-19, had mutated. Or they could blame a pig virus or a cuckoo virus. Or maybe a virus from the Gates family, something really unpleasant.
So,
It wouldn't really need to be something too nasty. After all, a really bad virus might kill off some of the billionaires. I rather suspect that we're going to have more alleged virus health calamities coming up. If it isn't the coronavirus and a preordained second wave, it'll be something else. If they can make up one crisis, they can and will make up many more. All it needs is good marketing and organisations like the BBC to provide all the myths and the fake news that the enemy will need. The BBC, The Guardian and the Daily Mail could between them turn tapioca into a deadly threat. Of course, the plan to reduce the global population is already doing very well. The enemy has got social distancing widespread, and that's known to cause illness and to kill people. The CIA reckon that social distancing is one of the most powerful weapons there is for controlling large numbers of people. They managed to murder huge numbers in the care homes, and they've killed vast numbers of the sick by closing down hospitals for absolutely no good reason. They put everyone under house arrest, and isolation damages the immune system. Prisoners of war have confirmed that isolation does more damage than physical torture. Stress and anxiety affect the immune system too. The masks will kill quite a few people. It's well known that they reduce blood oxygen levels, and those with respiratory and cardiac disorders will die. It's true that surgeons wear masks, but they're different masks in different circumstances and not usually worn all day. Women's movement enthusiasts used to burn their bras. Maybe we should burn our masks, in an environmentally acceptable way, of course. Even the sanitizing gel they insist we use a dozen times a day will kill some people. If you haven't seen it, please do watch my video on hand sanitizers. It's quite revealing. And then there's the cold in the winter months. They're stopping us using gas, and there are going to be electricity outages. Many people will freeze to death in the winter months. But I think their biggest weapon is food. That's how they're going to bring the population crashing right down. Food shortages are coming, and the cost of food is going to rise even faster than it has been doing. And it isn't because of global warming or whatever other lies they tell you. It is, however, a side effect of the coronavirus hoax. All around the world, food is in short supply. The price of the world's most important staple food, rice, has risen by 70%. Food prices in America have recently seen a historic jump and are destined, I believe, to stay high and go higher. Countries which have good food production are halting their exports. Vietnam, for example, has stopped exporting because they need their food supplies at home, and you can't blame them. Some authorities condemn it as nationalism, but all countries, all villages, all homes would do much the same thing. And it's the managed overreaction to a virus known to be no more dangerous than the flu that's causing the problem, and that will result in millions of deaths to add to the millions who are going to die as a result of the lockdowns. The global death rate because of the food shortage is going to be measured in hundreds of millions and eventually in billions. Africa and Asia are going to see the worst levels of starvation ever seen. I fear that those countries which have some grain will flog it to America despite mass starvation. Black Lives Matter protesters who've been manipulated by professionals would be wise to forget about Cecil Rhodes' statue and where they'd like to see it placed, and concentrate instead on helping Africans who are going to be subjected to the worst genocide in history. So how is the coronavirus scandal responsible for the food shortages that are coming? That's easy to explain. Processing plants and distribution centres all around the world have been deliberately severely disrupted by the massive overreaction to this fairly ordinary virus. Around the world, more and more testing is being done. And although the tests are about as trustworthy as Gates, Clinton and Soros, your local purveyors of fear and death, they're treated with undeserved reverence. Curiously, it seems to me that farms and food distribution centres are being tested more than, say, civil servants or tax officials. This is odd because the chances of the virus being carried on food are roughly the same as the chance that the moon is made of cheese. And so if one worker on a farm or in a warehouse falls ill with flu-like symptoms, then the authorities will close down that farm or the warehouse. Delivery systems have been massively affected as drivers are sent home for 2 weeks and all their colleagues sent home for 2 weeks. As a result, huge crops of vegetables and fruit are being ploughed into the ground. Millions of animals are being slaughtered and then buried or burnt because the supply chains have been shut down. America, almost unbelievably, has been importing beef because of the shortages. The world lockdown and the mass house arrests that were engineered to keep us all subservient mean that thousands of farmers can't get their crops picked. Fruit in particular is likely to rot in the fields and tankers full of milk are being poured away. Controls on transport have meant that it's more difficult to move food from where there's a glut to where there's a dearth. It would have been easy for governments to insist that furloughed workers should help pick the crops, but they didn't do that. And why would they? Their plan is to eradicate the poor and the weak. And the unsurprising consequence of all this is that there are going to be massive shortages of fruit and vegetables, and prices are going to rocket. In the UK, the most toxic of the Remainers, the fascist EU-loving lunatics, bigoted, soaked in their own prejudices and consumed by ignorance, will blame Brexit for the shortages. But then if they develop a bald spot or lose their keys, they'll blame Brexit. In the US, the media will doubtless blame Trump for the food shortages. But sadly for them all the shortages will be global. All around the world there will be shortages of almost all foods. This isn't the sort of fear porn favoured by irresponsible mainstream media giants such as the EU and Gates-supported BBC. This is real. Other factors are going to ensure that the shortage just gets worse. If and when the economy is allowed to stutter into action again, the price of oil will doubtless eventually rise because the existing supplies are diminishing rapidly and most oil companies have pretty well given up on exploration. The rising price of oil will mean that farming and transportation costs will rise, and that'll push up the price of food still further. I tell you this not to scare you, but because when you know something's happening, you can do something about it. You may think it's worthwhile building up your stocks of long-dated food staples such as rice and pasta. Dried and tinned foods which have long dates are good, As you eat your stocks, replace them with more. Governments tell us not to store stuff, but the military don't buy bullets the day they need them, do they? If you have a garden and can grow your favourite vegetables or fruit, that's probably a good idea, but watch that no one climbs over your fence and steals them. I don't really recommend having an allotment, sadly. The chances of you being able to harvest your own crops are too remote because they'll be stolen. It might also be a good idea to stock up on any vitamin and mineral supplements you usually take. I've always been a bit of a contrarian, that I don't suppose anyone would have noticed, and I'm convinced that the time to panic buy is when there's no panic. I hope the advice here will help those of you who watch these videos. Do a little quiet food stockpiling now so that you and your family will have a better chance to be strong and healthy. Countries look after themselves and we all need to do so. It isn't selfish, it's survival. If you buy food you'll eat anyway and you store it carefully, what have you got to lose? If I'm wrong and there's no enemy and there's no food shortages, then you can always just eat what you've stored. If and when your government finally warns you of this problem, it'll be far, far too late. And tell your family and friends to watch this video soon. The last time I warned about the coming food shortages, YouTube removed the part 1 video within hours. Remember, you should stockpile food now. Don't wait for the panic. Thank you for watching An Old Man in a Chair, and thanks for all your support and encouragement. Please copy and share the videos on Facebook, Twitter and BitChute. If you want to put on translation, that would be great. If you visit mainstream media, then put on a note asking people to come here and look at the videos.
There you go, that's Vernon Coleman, who's an interesting guy. VernonColeman.com, so VernonColeman.com is the website, and he's got leaflets and things that you can distribute, talking about why people shouldn't wear masks. He's listed everything pretty much, and he does research. He's a retired doctor, retired GP, so he knows what he's talking about. The genocidal plot of the elite, I'm neutral about, because I don't see that happening. I think if they were going to kill us off, they'd have killed us off with a virus that just took out the people and left the buildings and the infrastructure. I don't think they would do it just with 80-year-olds. So I'm neutral on that subject. I don't know what's going on, and I don't claim to know. But I keep an eye on things, and I think Bill Gates needs to be watched at the very least. And yeah, I'm keeping an eye on him anyway. So let's see what else we got. So if you wanna catch me, you can find I've got websites at freeassociationradioshow.com, ReikiMasterInitiation.com. There's a site for cancer research, which is cancercuremastermindgroup.com, I think. Yeah, .com or .live. And I've got imaginationcreatesreality.live as well, or .com. I can't remember now, but it's one of those two. If I couldn't get the .com, I got the .live. That's the way it works. Dennis Barker on Twitter, and I'm in various places. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Parler. I'm on BitChute. I'm on Library. I'm on Brand New Tube. Radio Projects is the account name on BitChute and Brand New Tube and Library, and I'll usually post the radio show there within a week. I take my time with it. I'm not stressing about it, but I've got more traffic coming on BitChute than I have on YouTube. I know that much. So, and there's people come to what I do on Twitter as well. So I'm going to focus more on Twitter than I am anywhere else for the next year, and see if that makes a difference. There's a radio station set up as well. I set up this thing about 2 years ago now, which was just extracts from videos on YouTube that I like. So it's kind of the things that made a difference for me. So there's a bit of Pierre Grimes on there. A lot of it I've shared on the radio show over the last year or two. So well, over the last 6 months, should I say? So the radio station, if you want to take a look there, is radioprojects.co.uk, and that runs automatically 24 hours a day. A lot of it's repetitive. There'll be new stuff on there as I come up with it, but I don't stress about it. There's 100 people going through there a month, 100 regular visitors a month, and if I can get that up to 200 next year, then I'll be happy. I'm not losing any sleep over how many people go through there, because 100 was more than I was expecting. So 200 would be great. So if you do know anybody who's interested in metaphysics or esoteric subjects or healing, the kind of thing that I do here, point them in the direction of radioprojects.co.uk. There's plenty more material on there. Back to YouTube now, I think, for a couple of minutes, if my laptop lets me. Right, it's a little bit more of the two Ronnies. I don't know how radio friendly this will be, but
16 across. It's green and often found on football pitches. 5 letters, G-R-A something something. Green, often found on football pitches. G-R-A something something. Grandstand? No, that's too long, grandstand. No. G-R-A something something.
Grass. Grass. A child of 5 could see it's grass.
Excuse me, I mean, who's doing this crossword, me or you?
Well, will you try not to talk so loud, please? We're all trying to do proper crosswords here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Proper crosswords. What do you mean by that? Proper crosswords.
I'm trying to do the Mephistopheles in the Financial Times, a crossword which you wouldn't know where to start.
As it happens, I could do any crossword put in front of me, including Mephistopheles. Just happens that I prefer the Sun, Junior Coffee Time, Easy Clues, that's all. It's just a matter of taste, that's all.
The Sun. People only buy that for one thing. Rather, a couple of things.
2 across.
There you are. See what I mean?
They peck holes in your milk bottle tops. 4 letters. Something, something, T-S.
That's a typical Sun clue, that is.
Peck holes in your milk bottle tops, something, something, T-S. Bats.
Bats. Since when did you last see a bat peck a hole in your milk bottle top?
Well, it might do if it was hungry.
You're the one that's bats. If you want the correct answer to that clue, I suggest you look at page 3. Now, please try to desist as I am attempting to concentrate.
It's red, it smells, it's often picked in the garden. 4 letters, something, O-S-E.
That's not right.
What?
It's rose. Rose, it's obvious. It's red, it smells, and it's often picked in the garden. Rose.
Well, it could be nose.
I've never seen anything like that crossword. I've really never seen anything like... I mean, you've got it all absolutely wrong. I mean, look what you've got here, look. Place where fish are kept, you've got coop. Coop. I mean, when did you last hear of fish being kept in a coop?
Co-op, yes, fish. Fish are kept in the co-op.
What's this one here?
all right, that's the two Ronnies. That's the crossword sketch. You've been listening to Free Association. My name is Dennis Barker. I'm Dennis Barker on Twitter. And you can find me here every single Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. UK time. Just having a bit of fun at the moment. I think I'll continue to have a little bit of fun over the next 52 weeks. I'm going to be less serious than I've been, I think, just because I can be. So I'll see you next week. I think we've got the music coming in shortly. Thanks for being here. And if you can get down to Rev Radio, revolution.radio, and throw some money in the box, that would be appreciated.